Generation Z did not simply inherit a broken world by accident. Many members of this generation increasingly suspect that the forces shaping their reality, economic, political, and cultural, were never designed for their success at all. Instead, the world they entered feels engineered to extract, exhaust, and control. What appears to be incompetence begins to resemble strategy. What looks like neglect feels intentional. To Gen Z, betrayal is not just emotional, it's systemic. From the beginning, the education system promised opportunity. Schools drilled into students that college was the only path to security. Guidance counselors warned of lifelong failure for those who didn't follow the script. Yet, behind the curtain, tuition climbed beyond inflation, locking students into decades of debt. Universities expanded administrative bloat and luxury amenities, while wages outside stagnated. Politicians whispered about investing in the future, while quietly turning education into a profit machine. It's difficult not to wonder if the point was never to prepare students, but to trap them, paying interest to institutions that quietly fund the very politicians who preach student success. Housing tells a similar story. For decades, older generations steadily acquired property, while zoning laws choked supply and investors hoarded land. By the time Gen Z came of age, housing had transformed into a speculative asset. Corporations began buying entire neighborhoods, pricing out individual families. Millennials were told they waited too long to buy homes. Gen Z wasn't given the chance. If you believe the optimists, this is a market problem. But if you look closer, it resembles consolidation, a future where housing is rented forever from faceless firms, ensuring dependence and eliminating mobility. Economically, the betrayal deepens. Automation and outsourcing shipped stable jobs overseas, but politicians continued promising that hard work guaranteed a future. Corporations recorded record profits. Workers received gig contracts, zero benefits, and the privilege of competing in an oversaturated labour market. It's difficult not to feel that the economy was redesigned to keep the majority scrambling, too exhausted to question those in power. Then there's technology. Gen Z was raised online, told the digital world was empowering, but social media platforms were engineered to addict, to track, to predict. Every click, pause, and message is stored, sold, and fed into algorithms designed to shape behavior. Privacy became a myth. Digital identities became commodities. These companies promised connection and delivered surveillance. They presented tools of expression while curating outrage and division. A population distracted, anxious, and polarized is much easier to manage. When despair becomes habitual, resistance becomes unlikely. Politically, institutions that once demanded respect devolved into theatre. Policies are debated loudly but rarely enacted. Outrage is manufactured like a product line, shifting attention from economic realities to culture wars that resolve nothing. Representatives leave office to join the very lobbies they were supposed to regulate. It begins to feel less like politics and more like a performance staged by actors sharing the same script. Preserve the status quo, no matter the cost. Culturally, Gen Z was raised on narratives of progress, equality, opportunity, justice. Activism became another marketing demographic to exploit. Empty gestures replaced structural change. For critics, Gen Z's frustration is irrational, but cynicism emerges when patterns repeat. Student debt, unaffordable housing, governments that act only when money demands it, endless promises of future relief that never arrives. At some point, coincidence begins to look coordinated, and yet the bleakness of this betrayal has sparked something unintended: awareness. Gen Z is harder to fool. They see the mechanisms behind institutions. They follow the money. They track legislation, lobbying, financial flows, and data mining. They refuse to believe slogans unaccompanied by action. They distrust by default, not out of apathy, but pattern recognition. Perhaps that is why the world feels engineered to exhaust them. A generation that sees too clearly is inconvenient. In the end, whether the betrayal was deliberate or merely the cumulative consequence of greed, the result is the same. A generation asked to fix a world while being stripped of the tools required to do so. They were promised opportunity and handed scarcity. They were promised truth and fed propaganda. They were promised a future and given a countdown. Maybe the real conspiracy isn't hidden at all. Maybe it's right in front of us.